right. Sorry, I had to pause for just 1 second, but all right, chat. Hello and welcome to the draft lottery as we get ready to roll on towards season 4. Of course, the draft is in about 2 weeks. I think the date on the schedule is listed as 2/20, which would be 2 weeks from yesterday. So we're getting there. But of course, just like last season, we do still have to lock in our draft order. Now, on your screen here, you can see the format. Like I said, it is the same as last season, and it is the same as in a lot of sports, in that basically you don't want to at least fully incentivize tanking or just throwing to be the worst team, because in a league like the NFL, when a team's bad, they try to do worse, or not try, but kind of lean in that direction, because then you get an earlier pick the next season, which helps you. But instead, if you institute a lottery, now a team who still does well could sneak in with a low chance and get that pick, kind of incentivizing you to still do a little bit better. So you can see, like I have, the odds are determined by their placement last season. The top 4 are exempted from the lottery because there's no reason a team should be getting into the semifinals and then still getting that number 1 pick. Then the lottery will be performed with a weighted wheel. Again, odds, we'll see in a second, are determined by last season. The first spin will be for the first pick, again, same as last season, and that is what a couple of you have bet on. I do have a prediction in the chat. If any of you want to kind of throw away your channel points, you can bet on the result of the first spin. Now, again, that wording is very specific. Just like last season, the wheel will list the original owners of the picks, as you see with the next line, because this is a result that will snake through rounds 2, 3, compensation, whatever there is. So we're spinning once for every round. And so say Denver have 2 first-round picks, you still need to list the team who owned their second pick, and that is the case we have here. So that's pretty simple. You're betting on who the wheel lands on, not who gets the pick. So if another team owns that pick, that doesn't change the answer. And then, yeah, I pretty much covered all that. Looking over to our odds, you can see on the right I have who fits within those odds. So that top line is a top 4, then all the way down. And then when you look on the left side, you can see your chances. They are the same as last season, but that is what we will be rolling with. And of course, you do have a couple new names. We can kind of roll through those as we go, but yeah. And then, of course, we are going to have our wheels, what we will be spinning with. And then we will have each of our boards. And you can see, once again, 4 picks are locked in down at the bottom there. And I can also switch that over to Prism, that you can see in both leagues. Again, top 8 picks are in the lottery. And then there's 4 per round, as we can switch to round 2. You can see the same thing. And round 3, you can see the same thing. So we're going to be lottering the top 8. I'm going to be filling it in as we go. You're going to have to give me a minute to try to identify again, because a lot of these teams don't own their own picks. So I'm going to have to try to figure out who it lands on, who owns that pick in that round, whatever. But we're going to fill these in. I'll get them posted tonight. And for managers, I'll post my more like condensed version, so it's not 3 images like this. So, And then I would assume at some point, of course, we will have trades opening that managers will be able to ship their picks around, do whatever. So I would be kind of surprised if in both leagues what we get as a result here is the order come draft day. But it'll be the baseline that you'll be working off. And of course, we'll have an updated order to show you and work off of on draft day. And managers will hopefully be aware of that. So there you go. I think that's all I need to say. Like I said, quite excited for this new season and all the new teams and all the new managers. And we'll see how it goes. Now, the prediction has closed. We got 10,000 in. And is that shade? Oh, Pitt voted for LA. Pitt's getting bold. Okay. Pitt voting 10K channel points just about on Los Angeles, who have a 10%, so somewhere towards the middle. So there you go. Now, of course, like I said, we are going to be going pixel first. You can see the wheel here. We have all the team logos. And since they are the 3D-ified versions, if you can't tell, there's also no name. Some of them are new also, but, I recognize all of these. And we'll go to the other screen to show all the results. Okay, well, since the prediction is closed, I think we can just about get into it. Just the last thing I'll say before we do, as I have been just saying in both announcements I've made today, make sure you get registered if you are not. Just go into the Discord, go to that registration channel, and then once you're registered, regardless of whether... No, it is a little bit links. And I don't doubt that. Like, just go into that. Like, the logos are a little bit hard to see, but I like them. Also, the wheel, it just isn't very high res. Not much I can do to get around that. But just acknowledging, the wheel's a little low res, which makes it hard. On the other graphics, they're kind of like small and just kind of one color, so it's hard. So they are a little bit hard to see, and I'm not going to be relying on them for much past this lottery. But I just enjoyed making them 3D, and I wanted to use them for something, and I thought the lottery would be a cool time too. Like I said, you'll be able to kind of tell who it lands on based on the wheel and what you can see of the logo. And then I'm going to go to the results board where you will be able to see the team names on this board. So like I said, it's kind of hard to see the logos down there, kind of small, Falcons are dark, whatever. But you can see the big name. And for managers, I'll be posting my condensed one, so they'll certainly know and whatever. So logos or whatever, I like them. Not the best. Not going to be using them all season or anything for everything, but, they're cool. As I was going to say, though, once you're registered, whether you are full-time or PFA, you do got to get combines in, so make sure you do that if you haven't. Again, the deadline for that is February 20th, so you got 2 weeks. All right. With all that said, I do believe I should be good. So, I think we can kind of go ahead and get spinning. So again, we are going to spin, starting with Pixel. We are going to do one route through. The team it lands on first will be the first pick, then they'll be removed. We'll do the same thing. Next would be the second pick, etc., etc. And like I have said several times now, it'll be one spin that snakes through the other rounds. I don't know if we'll show the other rounds after every pick, but I'll at least try to show the board with the updated first rounder, and then I will have all of them done as we go. So, without further ado, why don't we just go ahead? Actually, I'm going to wait like a couple seconds or something, or it might be a minute. I'm going to stall another minute till 8:10, because, it's 8:09. We're 1 minute away from being 10 minutes into the stream. I feel like we kind of might as well push it just a little bit. No, you're kind of right there, Jared. I'm like, because especially since I don't have like a co-host, I don't know how much to keep, talking, but might as well wait until the clean 8:10, We've been talking this long. 8:09 feels a bit random. But I am ready to spin. And yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, Denver going to be the most likely. Denver, in fact, do have, again, this shows original owners, as we are to 8:10, so I am going to spin. But the last thing I'm going to say, teams with 2 first-round picks. In Pixel, 2 first-rounders that are in the lottery. Both Bedford and Boston do have 2 firsts that aren't in the lottery. But in the lottery, we have Denver have 2 picks. In fact, Denver have the top 2 odds. So very likely they'll have a couple early ones. And then Madison have 2 first picks. Both kind of more towards the middle. Then, of course, in Prism, the Wave have 2. And then Lincoln have one in the lottery, one outside the lottery. Same case there with Santa Carla. So a lot of teams having 2 firsts, but we'll see who it lands on, as I am now truly gonna go ahead and spin this wheel. So let's see who it lands on. Of course, the one who it does will be the first pick. And Huntu is not... I thought I had the wrong prediction. I was thinking of this, because this is actually, as we'll remove that, that is going to be a pick. Did it remove them? Is it just not going to? Does it not care? Is it good? What's going on here? Oh, well, that's fine. So it's going to go to KC. Now, the result of that for the actual first pick is that that will be going over to Denver, because Denver owned that one. And so, let me just try to work with this on my end. So that'll be that, and that, and that. Nope, that is wrong. That and that. So KC do own their next 2 rounds. That's okay. I'm a little confused why it didn't remove KC. So give me 1 second to try to update the wheel manually. I should be able to do that. And then let me do this. And just so you know, I'm not going to cut to it, especially because I have this delay right now. But in general, KC do own their next 2 picks. And so in rounds 2 and 3, it will be KC receiving the 12th pick of the second round and the first pick of the third round. So there you go. That is 1 team off the board. And now we can roll on. Okay. Yeah, Huntu, I saw yours, and I was thinking about Kansas City, because I was talking about how Denver have multiple. But yeah, just not quite. Nice try, though. As all right, do have the wheel, do have KC taken off. And so we can go ahead and spin for our next pick here. And ooh, so that'll be Pitcock getting close, but he's 1 pick too slow. Let me go ahead and format this one. Let me see. Will it actually remove it? No, so it does not want to do that. Cool. Fair enough. I guess we just don't want to do that here. So I'm just going to keep this open then and keep removing things. But I can go get them in there. Again, I'll go to this. And then this time I will now give an update, because LA do own their first round. However, their next 2 fall to Luxor. And so if we go to our third round, then you can see that it's actually Luxor who will slot into 311. And then I got a little bit lost on my end. Apologies. Then if you go over to our third round, it's KC and then Luxor fitting into those top 2. All right. Let me get those in there. Just, again, I'm trying to fill it out on my end so that I know what's going on. Then let me remove LA. Get the wheel updated in here. Not sure what exactly is making it not want to, but I'm going to do that. And then we got another wheel, and they're gone. Cool. So we are good on that, and we can roll for pick number 3. As Denver's starting to take up a big piece, but it's actually going to roll over to Vancouver. Now, they do not own their first round. So maybe not quite ideal, as that'll knock their second round pick down a little bit further. I'm imagining it's not going to remove. Nope, it will not. So that pick will actually instead go to Madison, who are then going to slot into number 3. Now, just like KC, Vancouver do own their next 2 rounds. So if we give a quick update on those, you will see the void appearing at 2.10 and 3.03. So there you can see them updating in there. Now I will need to remove the void from the wheel, get that updated, and we will go again. So, yeah. Interesting here that our top 2 odds, well, actually no, the current listed top 2. Did I not copy that, I guess? Cool. 1 second. Or, interesting. So, that should work. The link didn't change, and it didn't take Vancouver off for some reason. But now we got there, and so we're good to go ahead and spin again. This time will be for the number 4 pick. So Madison and Denver, the 2 big fish still on the board, and it will now be Denver. Kansas City own their second, but they own their first and third. And so then I'm not going to try to click remove. That means Denver will get their second pick in the draft locked in there. So they will, as of now at least, have first and fourth. Now again, if you go down to the later rounds, you will see Kansas City filling in the 9th pick of the second round. And then it will be Denver taking in the 4th of the third round. So top third and bottom third filled in. But we are going to need to see what happens in the middle. So we take off Denver. See, did this share properly? Did it change? It did not. So I'm not sure if this is going to have worked. I think I need to do this. Do this. Because I need the link to change. Although, maybe I could try refreshing. But I'm just going to do this to be safe. So now I have the wheel updated. We have 4 teams left to go. Madison, the biggest piece still left on the board, but we do have 3 others who can try to move their way up. As we can go ahead and give it our next spin. And there we go. We are going to have Madison coming through. So let me fill that in as kind of similar to our last one there. Madison will own their own first and third, with Vancouver taking their second. So if I go ahead and fill that in, you are going to see another pick in the top 5 for Madison. So Madison getting a little bit lucky with Vancouver falling early, but still falling to 3 and 5. Yeah, we're doing Pixel first, Lemon, so don't worry about that yet. Then Denver taking 1 and 4. Kind of surprising that their number 1 odds fell to 4th, but still pretty good picks there. Then if we move over to the second round, you're going to have Vancouver slotting in to 2.8. And then you're going to have, in the third round, Madison slotting into pick number 5. Let me get that up, and there you go. Now I'm going to need to remove this. And will that let me change the link? No, it will not. So then I will need to open it new. Bang. Bang. Cool. So we can move on then. go back to our round 1 board while I get this updated. And we now have 3 teams left. Daytona, definitely the favorites of it in terms of the odds. As if you go by the initial odds, they would have 12% to Buffalo's 6 and Inchin's 3. So a lot, pretty clear advantage for them, but will they fall off the board here, or will they continue to drop as we give it our next spin? I'll see where I messed that up because I don't know where I would have. But it will go to Inchin here. So with the worst odds in the lottery, they're going to fall off at number 6. Let me get that in, and then I'll check on what T-Mac is saying. So that will put Smurfy, as he does own his own first. And so that will put him in at number 6 in the first round. Now let me look. Yes, I messed up putting them into the second round. Good call, T-Mac. And yeah, that's not even a lottery pick. I just had that in there wrong. And then the second round version of that Inchin pick will go to our most newly renamed team, formerly Birmingham, and now the Loudon Lynx. Appreciate that, because that I would have gone back and check it and seen that eventually, but now I don't got to worry about that because it has been properly checked and we're good. So that'll be your second round. And then in the third round, again, Inchin do own their own pick. And so there you go, as they will fill in at 3.06. The wheel was frozen, and then it randomly spun itself again while I was sitting here. And I didn't hear the clicking of it spinning, but I heard the clicking of it having a result, and that was kind of terrifying. I'm not going to lie. Just a very loud click very suddenly. As let me just get our wheel ready for our next pick. And then we can get on to that. So 2 teams left on the board. Yeah. My bad, Lynx. I think they're both blue, or I might have accidentally replaced it when I had changed all of them or something. I don't know exactly, but yeah, that was just not quite right. That wasn't even a lottery pick, but all good. Let's not stall too much as we get through Pixel here. We do have plenty of time, only 20 minutes into the stream, but don't need to go too slow, as here we will fall to Buffalo, who will get number 7, and they do own their own pick, and they were the number 7 team. So, and they actually own all of their own. So, yeah, they just don't move, pretty much, is what happens from that. Exactly as they were expected to be before is as they will be after, as they will slot into number 7 on the first round, which will give them also number 6 in the second round, and then number 7 in the third round. So you can see everything filled out there. We do only have one team. Chat, do you want me to spin it with just the one team? Do we want to do that? I might as well. We did last season. It's a bit more effort now, a little bit, because I have to like actually reset to get the wheel. I can't just click remove, which is unfortunate. But I mean, like, you gotta. I mean, it needs to land. Yeah, I see all the yeses now. I mean, we need to see who it lands on, as it's utter silence. There's no clicking of it changing because there's just one team. Hey, it landed on the logo. That's cool, at least. We got something here. This was worth it, actually. As we can then go through and fill in, as Daytona also own all of their own picks. And so that will slot them in at number 8 in the first round. And if I go to the second round, they will be then number 5 in there. And then in the first round, nope, that is right. They will be number 8 in the third round as well. Now at this point, we have concluded our pixel lottery. So I will take a pause, talk about these boards a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and roll over to Prism. Yeah, I do appreciate it. It was the whole wheel, and it managed to spin and land on the logo itself. So here you have the first round board. Like we called out, Apex and Monarchs, I think the biggest winners. I would also probably put LA in there because LA, as I know we're talking about round 1, but if we look at our round 2 board, that's 2 top 4 second round picks that weren't involved in the lottery. Of course, those being Luxor and Deadwood, now Bedford's picks. And then now coming in with the 5th best odds, 10%, they're going to land second. By the way, let me close the prediction. Did anyone guess it? No. No one picked KC first. Nice. So the channel points will go by. Pickout was close. He bet the by far the most channel points on the second one to land, so he was close. But that's so true, Hunto. You did already do that. Also, yeah, Pixel is more blue this time. Now, to be fair, I mean, this is only a couple. And yeah, the logos are very blue, aren't they? I'm just looking at on this actual stream so I can see them. Yeah, they're very blue. Now, again, there are a lot of repeats. Denver are here twice. Bedford are here twice. Boston are here twice. So there are a lot of repeats. There's a lot of blue on screen, but that's like 5 to 6 teams. It's 6 teams. So Pixel did get a lot more blue. Prism got a bit more orange, but a good bit more variety, I'd say. There are also now 2 pink teams in Pixel, so that's new. But yeah, that's rebrands for you. As we can look on, again, it'll be interesting to see how trades go, because like you see talked about in the chat, LA, a lot of high picks, especially with salaries. Do you want all those, or do you want to maybe trade one down to trade the other up? Like, how do you want to do it? So it'll be interesting to see how Shade manages that. And of course, Madison, I believe, very similar picks to what they had last season. Of course, they did trade out a number 3 to give that to Smurfy, but otherwise they had 2 early firsts, as I do have the draft order. They picked 4th and 6th. And I believe they had 3rd and traded it down. So they had 3 and 6. They traded to 4 and 6. Now it's 3 and 5. Of course, new managers. I believe that's Panda coming in. So we'll see how it goes for him this time. Then T-Mac, someone who we've seen before. Last season, I believe last season went pretty well, I want to say. If I had to guess, if I'm remembering. It's been a bit. Haven't thought about the standings. I'm scrolling down to look in probably the least efficient way possible. No, last season was not their season. Yeah, that makes more sense. Because you were good in season 2, had a more rough season 3, but that allows you to build into this. Also, I probably could have realized you guys had the top odds for this lottery. I think that would imply you got last place. Probably could have thought about that. So, yeah, obviously T-Mac we've seen have a good team before. He's been a long-standing manager. Is a champion, not in this league, but in his 10 years as manager. And then, yeah, so having a couple good picks here. Obviously, again, with these salaries being implemented, it should limit the ability for a team capitalizing on early picks to dominate the whole board, but you still get the picks of whoever you want to fill out your team within that salary. And T-Mac's an experienced manager, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And yeah, of course, again, we can quickly look through our other rounds. Boomer in his comfort zone with 2 late seconds and a third. If I look again at the season 3 order, Boomer had 8, 9, and then 3 of the third round. This time he has 8, 10, and 3 of the third round. So he has 1 pick worse in round 2. Basically the same though. And so that'll be interesting. Just looking at the round 1 board of last season is so rough. Incheon have 3 in a row. Birmingham have 3 in a row. Like, that's just a little, maybe not ideal, but obviously salaries are in for a reason, and that could happen again with the new trades. So we'll see. Then we talked about LA being up there. KC, I think this lottery not ending up how they wanted. Obviously, they were on teams with high odds, with KC and Denver, the 2 highest odds. So this was kind of the most likely way for it to go. But ending up with those 2 late second rounders, and then because of it also having the first of the third round. So definitely not great picks for Kansas City there, but we'll see how that goes for them. And a lot of those teams towards the middle just kind of owning their own picks, being wherever they are. Although I will say Birmingham, or now Loudon, I believe, coming in now with Pinky as a new manager. We'll see how he does with some certainly not ideal picks. As we can go to our round 3 board quickly, you can see them picking 10 and 12 there. Also, Luxor, a little bit of a rough one. Their first pick is 11 in the second round, and then they have 2 and 11 in this round. But, of course, he has a championship, and he got a final last season. So he's kind of went all in on picks. Well, he went all in on season 2. Then he somehow went most of the way in season 3. So now he's a little bit back. Now, again, we'll see. LA willing to trade. We'll see if maybe he can get something out of that somehow, or if he can trade up. I believe he could manage to do that, but as of now, a worse start for Luxor. Same thing also Incheon. They do have that early-ish probably mid first round, but then also a mid and a late third round here. So Incheon definitely not in the best draft position. And you can see the Apex and Monarchs falling with their third pick here in the middle of the third round. So I think they're definitely going to be focusing on finding their top 3. We'll also see with both Panda and T-Mac. I think both could be starters, but maybe like what their strategy is. So I think it'll be interesting with both of them. Obviously, I think having their 4th pick later in the draft probably more okay with you this season, because with the salaries, some decent people probably have to be left, or else everyone is picking within that same range towards there. Also, we have in past seasons multiple times now seen Pitcop find someone who probably should have gone in the first round, but for some reason they're a third round pick. So we've seen that before. I mean, that's up to how you build your team links. I think you probably can be, but depends on your picks. Obviously, you have 2 firsts and an early second. I don't know how your salary is going to shake out, but your picks are high enough. You might be able to pick a team that you feel is better than you, or you might be able to kind of build around yourself and get a sub. So obviously, it's hard to say. So it'll be interesting again to see, as I think that is everything we need to talk about for Pixels, so we can get ready then to transition over to Prism, as we have our wheel for that. A lot of new teams, and a lot of them showing up on this one, as I don't have to worry about round 3 anymore. Prism, there will be a compensation round, because there are those non-playing managers filling in the vacancies, but don't have that on here. Again, you can see that draft day, or managers will know it once this concludes. It'll also just be snaking in the same way as round 1, so you can kind of just infer it, and I can read it out at the end if we really want to. I should write out. Oh no, I do have it. Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say I should know who it is so I can put it on my own board, but I do know because I do have that labeled. Now let me also get this wheel open so I will be able to update it as we get results, since we saw with the last one it didn't seem like remove was working. Although I will try. I think I'm going to try something with this one. But, alright, no reason to stall as much for this one. Let us just get into it once again. As we can give it a spin. There we go, give it a spin. And the first pick will be going over to Jay and Lincoln. That's a big one. This is someone who has another first round pick. And so Lincoln getting out. Now, Huntu, I don't know if you were late or if you're delayed, because I had already had the result by a decent amount when you said that. So I don't know if that was a prediction, but if it is, that's crazy. If not, fair enough. That is a comment. That is true. As let me mark that off as actually no. Ooh, okay. Yeah. I look at it. Lincoln don't own their own first, as that will actually instead yeah, just got there, Jay. That will instead be going over to the Wave. And maybe an unfortunate one for... Why don't we just pull up the board? As you can see now with the first overall, the Wave actually quite fortunate. Unlike Denver, they have 2 first-round picks. Neither one all the way at the top. So getting a pretty good pull, getting the lower chance odds here this early on. So it'll be the Wave. True, that is currently Bacon and Shade. It was Bacon, Shade, Koala. Koala dropped out of managing Pixel. I'm not sure. Last I was told, I don't know if he's dropping out of Prism as well, but it's at least Bacon and Shade. It's the conglomerate. It's the oligarchy, if you will. As they will get the first overall, and then that will end up dropping to the last pick of the second round will be Hanoi, who own Lincoln's second. So Lincoln not owning either of their own picks, as their first round will still be left on the board, as Hanoi owned that one. That's Calgary, by the way. And so... let me see. Can I mean, that'll change the link anyway, so I'll do that. We open Lincoln. So for this one, I am just going to have to replace the link, and I will do that. But then for next picks, I'm going to try something and see if it works better, but I don't know. As we can get ready to move into our next one, as we roll on to pick number 2, and it will be falling down to Huntu. So he ended up trading down last season, so I want to see. This won't work. It will not. I'm going to see if I can remove it a different way, but Huntu owning his own first here will be falling off the board at number 2. And the more unfortunate thing, but the result of last season, as it was then Kyoto, who ended up trading down in order to basically wasn't playing, didn't have great picks, had first and last, so he trades himself down in order to build up for this season. Ends up with number 11 or number 10 in the first round, and now number 2 as well. So getting 2 early picks out of this. And then the result of that, as you look over, you now see Houston. They have their own second, which drops in at number 3 because they made the top 4. And then you have Santa Carla's second, which is now number 11. So Houston, that'll be Boomer's Prism team. Gonna be rough in this Prism, but again, with salaries, definitely in a better position. As also, Not on here because Houston's pick wasn't in the lottery, but he will also have the third pick in the compensation round. So there you go. That on the board as well. So with salaries, should still be able to get a decent team, but probably still not quite where he wants to be. Okay, I want to see, will this work? Because I'm curious. Will this work? Okay, I figured out how to do it. Let's go. Cool. So I can remove it and then refresh. So that'll make this a little bit quicker as we can then get ready to move to our third pick in the lottery. As let me mark that we then also have Santa Carla off the board, and number 3 will be going over to St. Petersburg. So they're going to get a very strong haul out of this one, as that will drop them off now once again at number 3. I believe the Wave have had 2 firsts in every season, and it has not gone incredibly well in any of them. So I think we're going to need to see more, and we're going to need to see how it goes. But as of now, not a bad team to have there. You know, not a bad position to have in the draft. So that pretty much assuredly should mean that the conglomerate, as that will give them number 1 in the compensation round as well, should have mostly the pick of anyone they want. Now again, there will be a decision to be had, as while I'm talking about this, for the second round, Chicago own that pick, so the Inferno will be slotting in to 2.10. But what I was saying, for St. Petersburg, you now, for your top 2, basically get anyone you want. Then it'll be for your third, which is kind of an advantage some of the other managers have. You'll have to strategize. What do you want to do? Do you want to pick maybe 2 really high players and then just end up getting someone lower? Do you want to pick like a top and a middle so you can get another middle? It'll be interesting to see how they play that as we look towards it. As let me, I already got them off the board because that was the Wave. And so we are then going to be good to roll on towards pick number 4. It's so much quicker to change the wheel that I'm kind of forgetting that I did it. As we can give it another spin, 4th pick here. Chicago starting to take up another big piece, but it will not be them. It will instead be Calgary. So that first pick will then be going over to Hanoi in the Hydras. They will get number 4. And then the second rounder, they will own their own. Let me find that. And so they will then slot in at number 9. No, Calgary's other pick is another second rounder that's embedded in Hanoi's spot on the wheel. So we'll see about if they... we'll see about where they fall through the rest of this. But there you go. As Hanoi will get their first pick on the board, and then they currently have the last pick in the draft. So we'll see. Definitely a very split, as they have the last pick, but don't get the benefit of first overall as you would normally have. So again, it'll be interesting to see how they play it. But let us see as we can move back over to our wheel. As we have 4 teams left, Chicago now over half the wheel. So we'll see if Wico can get himself off the board here soon. Especially with that low second rounder, he'd love to get picked here. But it's looking like it's going the other ways. It's going to land on Hanoi. So that will take Lincoln off the board, who will receive that first rounder. As they will then pick 5th in the first round. And then while that's on the board, Let me update the second round, as that's the one we just named. So that one going to be a little bit unfortunate for Vice, as he's going to have 2 picks in a row in the late second. Now, if I look back to last season, Vice with Florida, as actually I believe he traded up. He had 2 late seconds. He manages to trade up in that one to get a late first. But now he's going to end up with 2 middle to late thirds or seconds once again. Now, not too far off from his projected, but instead of 6 and 8, he has 8 and 9. So definitely a bit of a drop that will be unfortunate, but we'll see. Meanwhile, on the other side, I'm sure Jay quite would have liked that first round pick to fall off sooner for him, but not to be, as he will then pick 5th and 11th. So still 2 firsts, but a little bit later, as it is... There's quite a lot of wheel here for Chicago, I must say. There's a lot on the board here. As let's give it a spin. I don't like where it's at. And it's not going to be Chicago. It is just barely going to be Miami. And Miami are going to own both of their picks. I don't remember. I believe that's still Stewie. As I have not been blacking teams out. Hold 1 second. Cool. So Miami will own both of their picks. So as we go across to the board, they will pick 6th in the first round. And then they will pick 6th from last in the second round. I thought about it and was not going to say it. And so, there you go. Miami, a pretty classic split draft, picking middle in both rounds. So we'll see what Stewie can do with that as, I believe, a playing manager this season. Now, we do have 2 teams left on the wheel, and if it doesn't, this is going to be very funny, by the way. Because I just want you to take a look at this wheel. If it doesn't, this is the second best odds and the worst odds. If it lands on T-Max Arcadia Mages, oof. By the way, well, before I press spin, I'm just going to fill in. Arcadia picked 2nd in the compensation round. That's true regardless. But if this goes anywhere other than Chicago, okay, you know, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to press spin. Surely. And we're safe. It's going to land on the logo once again. Chicago finally off the board. Of course, the winner of all of this will be New York, whose second round pick got a little bit higher because of it. But in the first round, that will slot Chicago into the number 7. And then as we drop down to the second round, that will put New York in at number 6. So there you go. As we do just have 1 pick left to go. I wonder who it could possibly land on, as I need to take a lot of time to update this one. I mean, this might be the hardest spin yet, of course. I mean, we have our mustard wheel, and I just don't know who it's going to land on. I mean, we really got to think about this one. The odds, it's so split, you know? I mean, see, I see that links, but I don't know. Arcadia might be a pretty bold one. It could be Hornets Lemon. I mean, they have pretty low odds on this one. And I got something, hell yeah. Not that, but okay. I'm not going to do 5 minutes. I'm going to make it a 1-minute poll. Just if anyone has any input on that. Um, just for the sake of the YouTube, I made a 1-minute poll where the options are capitalized yes, not capitalized yes. Then I took off the S, then I took off the E, then I made it just a period because it was all gone. And so we're going to see we're really split right now. We're 2 on all of the last 3 options. So we got 30 seconds left on that. We've really got to wait. I think this is important. We've really got to gauge chat opinion on where they think this is going to end up. Because I'm leaning Arcadia, but I'm really not sure yet, as we have a couple votes coming in for the first 2 options as well. We now have a 4-way tie. So, now yes, without the capital taking the lead, as we have 5 seconds left to go. I believe something like that. At least that's an estimate. And it looks like the poll will come to an end. So it's going to be yes without the capital letter, coming in with the win on the question of Arcadia. And so I think with that in mind, I'm going to guess we might land on Arcadia here. Let's give it a spin in our silence, and the end result, it'll land on the logo, will be Arcadia. Wow. And they own their own picks. And so they will slot into 8th in the first round and number 5 in the second round. There you go. Lottery done and dusted. We can talk about our boards just a little bit, and then we can go ahead and wrap things up. As pretty good lottery once again. We talked about, I think, Wave, certainly the biggest winners. Now, I think for the fairness of the league, if you don't want teams to have high picks, it's probably the best team to get it because they are in the compensation round with their non-playing managers. But still a good position to be in. Then you have Santa Carla getting 2 and 10. So 2 early picks for Huntu in his first season as a playing manager. See how that goes for him. And then we have Hanoi picking 4th in this one. So pretty good early pick for Halio. And as someone who I assume will be in the highest echelon of the salaries, he then gets a pick of basically anyone he would want for his second player. Now, the Wave might take one of those names off the board first, but still pretty good overall for him. Then Lincoln, once again, 2 firsts. They had not quite as good as their picks last season when they had 6. I would say not quite as good, as they had 6 and 9 last season. This season, they're going to be slotting in with 5 and 11. Miami, it's very standard. Chicago, a little bit low, given that they have only a late second. Arcadia, pretty standard. Havana, the same. Then we get to our repeats, and it wraps up with the Scallops, as they will have the last pick of the first round and the best pick of the second round as we loop over here. And you can see the Nightmare trapped in the second round, but they do have a couple early picks. Problem is, unlike a team like the Wave, they're also in the compensation round, but they don't get the luxury of that early. They just don't get the luxury of those early picks. So we'll see about that for them. Then we have Houston, probably in a worse position, as they have that early second, a late second, and then their compensation pick, which they do pick before Steinhatchee and New York in the comp round, but still being in there puts you behind a lot. The manager for the Wave is the Oligarchy. That it's Bacon, Shade, and I don't know, Koala, if you're still on the board. But it was those 3. Yes. If anyone is interested, as of right now, registration is still open. That registration is open until the 20th. And so if you get in, you can register. You will be placed in a league. You will be given the role for that, of course, so you'll be able to see it. And then eventually you will be given a salary by Smurfy in the bot. Now, that's probably not your official final draft salary, But you'll have to wait for Smurfy to process you, which should probably be. I wish there was a command, by the way, but I do have a link I can quickly put, I believe, so no problem on that if someone needs it. But you'll be given that, and then you should see a couple combines channels that you will see. The one you'll care about will be either Prism Q or Pixel Q, depending again on which league you get put into. You should only see that one. And then you'll need to play 5 combine matches. Now, that's not 5 games. That is 5 combine matches. And a combine match is a series of 3 games. Not a best of 3, but just a series of 3 flat. So again, registration closes on the 20th for anyone watching live or on the YouTube who wants to get involved. Make sure for that you just join the Discord, go to registration, get registered, and then play the combines once you get added to everything. Now, for anyone watching later or who might not want to register yet, I would say probably within a day. It hopefully shouldn't take that long, but like Cozy said, you got to wait on Smurfy, so someone's just got to go in and do it, basically. And I don't think it's really a process for him to. It's just basically he has to be available and go in and do it. So, especially on a weekend, I'd be surprised if it takes more than a day. It'll probably, or very possibly, get done tonight, but we'll see. And then you got 2 weeks to get your combines in, so probably plenty of time. So again, the registration and, well, combines close on the 20th. Registration closes, I would guess, not set, but it should probably close like a week before that, week and a half, to let people get their combines in after they register. And then draft will be that weekend of the 20th, and we'll be going. So there you go. Favorites out of the lottery coming through from links. Well, we can look at all of our boards again. I think the first round you probably want to pay attention to. I don't hate the Waves shot. I think the Wave should get a pretty decent team because they get a pick of any first player they want, and then they can find a good pairing for number 3. Now, having to wait until the compensation round is unfortunate for that third pick, but I think especially with the salary system, they should get a third in the range they want. Now, again, if they take 2 higher players so that they end up having to take a lower one, or if they take like a top and a middle and can get another middle, whatever range they need, they should probably have someone around that. So I like the Waves' chances. I do like Hanoi. Obviously, not picking again until the end of the second round isn't great, but I mean, Halio last season spun a wheel to draft his players and was still a competitive top team out of that. Now, he got a very good team out. He got a very good team out of it, but he still just spun a wheel. Now he has 4th overall, as we're on round 2. I should go back to round 1. I want to be on this one for showing the chat. So, having that 4th overall, he can pick anyone he wants to be like the duo with him. And then, again, he can pick whatever range someone needs to fall in. He probably has a decent chance at getting that with that last pick still. So, definitely like Halio's chances. I like Lincoln, having those 2 firsts. Jay tends to get good teams. If he spins the wheel with 4th in the 3rd round, or in the 1st round, he also can't really with salaries because they have to be like within a certain range or whatever. It can't just be a wheel with every draftable player. But as we can then also look over to Pixel, and over here, I think I have to put Denver. I think you just have to put Denver as one of your favorites, just because this is T-Mac, who is a very strong player, or we've seen in the past, he's very good at building competent 4-man rosters and good rosters, and now he has 2 of the top 4 picks. I think Panda's a new manager, but it's very possible he can get a good team out of that. Might see Honda going in the top 4. We'll see. But, I mean, he can do that, Hunt, too, but I don't know if he will. And I don't hate the Sabres. I think Shade might end up being a 3rd or a 4th on his team. So only having that 1 pick early is a little rough for him, but still having that high first, and then as we look to the second round, having those 2 and 4 in the second round as well. So I think I would say Denver, Madison. I mentioned LA. I'm gonna say Denver, Madison, Boston for Pixel. I'm just saying a couple names because I really like where Pick Cop is at. That at times, well, first of all, Pick Cop has had a competitive team in all 3 seasons. So this is an experienced manager who knows how to draft and has found the diamonds in the rough every season that he's had chance. He's had near Justin. So he's been finding names. And just looking at it, he had Cloudsy Arium season 2, I think. So new players who show up and are good for him. Now looking at this season, he doesn't pick incredibly early, but he has 10 and 12 in the first round. And then in the second round, he has number 1. So he basically has 3 straight picks in the first round. And of course, you're going to have a couple teams like Denver and Madison and Bedford, but for the most part, teams are only going to be taking their number 1 in this first round. And then he gets to pick all 3 of his players. So Pitcop, who's usually pretty good and pretty active at scouting and finding names and making teams, gets to a pick of whoever he wants. Now, I think I like pretty much all of these teams' positions, especially in the first round. I'm unsure about Inchin, just because, first of all, it's Smurfy, and second of all, he has a mid-first and then like mid-thirds. And then Daytona, I think Cozy's a good name, but just having the first, second, third, so not picking incredibly early, but I think he's still in a pretty good spot. And then the teams I named, that having multiple early picks, and most of them on proven, strong managers, I really like that position for those teams. Yeah, I mean, T-Mac, I don't think that needs to be commented or, like, argued in any way. I think that's just kind of a fact. He might sleep through the draft this time. But, yeah, so I do really like where the draft is at. That I think there are a couple of teams, like Inchin, Loudon, Luxor, who aren't in the best spot in terms of picks. But a lot of teams are in similar spots to where they have been in past seasons. And a lot of these are strong managers who I still trust to build good teams. And then on top of that, we have the salaries, which should just baseline balance teams to an extent. So I'm very interested that I mean, we have the Wave having 2 early picks. Cozy, you own all of your own, so you have 8, 5, 8. 8 in the first, 5 in the second, 8 in the third. And again, for any managers in the chat, I'm going to post like these 3 images in the Pixel Announcements channel. And then I'm going to post the 2 Prism in the Prism announcements. And then I have my condensed like draft order that I'm going to post in the manager chats. So you don't have to like remember these from now. And also, once trading gets opened, you should get from Smurfy his sheet, which is his directory of all the picks. So then you can also see what you need to trade. Now, especially the reason you will need to pay attention to the one I post and what Smurfy will have is that I list the original owner. So, like, in this first round here, I just on here have Denver having 2 firsts, Madison having 2 firsts, etc. But you do, in order to trade, need to know that that first overall is actually Kansas City's first. And number 3 is actually Vancouver's first, you know? So it does matter that you do need to know which first you're specifically trading with. So, you know, that's especially why I'm posting that in there. But yeah, so summary, because we've been going for long enough. We've stalled to get runtime. Now, I think we've kind of covered everything. I'm going to sit on the odds screen so you can see all that and all the new teams over there on the right. But yeah, of course, I'm interested to see how all the trades go and where things end up. But I like where they're sitting right now. That I think all of these teams have a decent position in picks, or they have the constellation of salaries equalizing things. New team names. I want to say it's 12, 6 in each league, roughly. I sent all the new logos to Defane. Yeah, I think it's... Oh, no, it's 12. It's 7 in Pixel, 5 in Prism. But also, one of them, Houston, was just a recolor. So it's really 7 in Pixel, 5 and a recolor, or 4 and a recolor in Prism. Yeah, I mean, a lot of managers joined last season and want to change. In Prism, like I mentioned, Arcadia kind of had to change. And then, yeah, people get antsy, want to change things up, want to represent their own brand or a new version of their own brand. So, Smurfy, the police. Probably what he's just saying is that the tracker don't show up. So he needs another tracker or more something. So, yeah, just follow up with that. That's fine. But, yeah, wrapping things up. I'm excited. I like where things ended up. Make sure you watch, again, Pixel announcements or your manager channels where I will post these. Make sure you watch those same announcement channels for any trades once those get open and completed. Make sure you get registered. Make sure you do your combines. We're 2 weeks out from the draft, so we're getting there, but we are still in the off season. But that will do it for the draft lottery. It was pretty fun. I like where things landed, but we'll see as we get towards the draft. Either way, that'll do it for now. We'll see you as we continue. Not sure if we'll have anything before the draft, but we'll see you when you see it. We'll see you when we see you. Either way.